Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open the incredible memoir of Victor Cherkashin, a career KGB officer. We're going to get right inside the story of the two most damaging spies in American history, told from the perspective of the man who handled them.
So picture this. It's a cold day in 1994. For a veteran KGB spy handler like Victor Cherkashin, those 4 words, Aldrich Ames has been arrested, well, they signaled the end of an era. This was the final, shocking chapter of the Cold War's biggest story of betrayal, and he was standing right in the middle of it all. You can just imagine the chill running down his spine. Why? Because Cherkashin was the man who had personally recruited and then run Aldrich Ames, the most devastating mole the CIA had ever known. Okay, let's get into his mindset here. Cherkashin's brain immediately kicks into high gear. A simple slip-up in communication? No way, not possible. Their methods were way too refined, too foolproof for that. For a pro like him, the conclusion was as cold as it was terrifying. It had to be an insider. A traitor inside his own service had given Ames up. Now, to really get how all this unfolded, we have to step into Cherkashin's world. And let me tell you, it is a million miles away from anything you've seen in a Hollywood movie. Yeah, Cherkashin himself basically tells his readers, look, don't expect James Bond here. He makes it super clear that real intelligence work isn't about jumping out of planes or cracking safes. It's mostly just a routine, a workaday routine, as he calls it, punctuated by these very, very rare moments of success. He learned everything on the job. And for pretty much his entire career, we're talking 1952 all the way to 1991, Cherkashin had one single focus: countering the CIA. The United States was officially designated the main adversary, and every single move he made was a piece in this huge, shadowy chess match. And then, 1985, an opportunity just lands on his desk that was so improbable, so totally audacious, that nobody could have seen it coming. A high-level CIA officer literally just walks in and offers to sell his country's biggest secrets. This wasn't some long, complicated recruitment operation. Nope. Aldrich Ames, a guy whose job was to catch spies, was in a financial mess. He had a costly divorce, a new relationship, and he just saw betraying his country as a simple business deal. The simplicity of it is just stunning, right? Ames wasn't meticulously groomed over years. He just volunteered. He walked up to a Soviet contact, handed him a letter and said, I want cash, and in return, I'll give you the CIA's entire playbook for Moscow. And that first payment, $50,000, was just the start. It was basically the down payment on a betrayal that would eventually earn him millions. And get this, all while he was passing multiple lie detector tests back at the CIA. It was a total mockery of their security. The damage? Oh, it was absolutely catastrophic. Just think about this for a second. In one single move, Ames completely wiped out almost every human source the CIA had inside the Soviet Union. American intelligence in Moscow was blinded, literally overnight. And for at least 10 Russian officers who were secretly working for the US, it was a death sentence. So the CIA's network in Moscow is in ruins. Their operations are totally decimated. But for Cherkashin, just as they're processing this unbelievable intelligence coup, something even crazier is about to happen. You better believe it. Just 6 months after Ames first walked in, another anonymous letter shows up, and this one is addressed personally to Victor Cherkashin in Moscow. This letter promised secrets that were even more sensitive than what Ames was giving them. The news source said he had access to the deepest, most secret projects in U.S. intelligence. That sender? It was Robert Hanssen, a senior agent at the FBI. Unbelievable. The KGB now had a top-level mole inside both the CIA and the FBI at the same time. Now, in the world of espionage, there are rules. And rule number 1 is the handler controls everything. The meeting spots, the codes, the dead drop locations, all of it. That's fundamental. It's how you keep things secure and, maintain control over your asset. And this is what made Hanssen so completely different. He just flipped the entire script. He dictated every single term. He chose the drop sites, sometimes just a few miles from his own house. He set the schedule. He was running the operation. And the KGB? Well, they had no choice but to play by his rules. This comparison is just wild. You've got 2 of the most destructive spies in U.S. history, and they're operating at the exact same time, but in completely opposite ways. Ames was the desperate walk-in, totally driven by debt. Hanssen was this meticulous ghost, driven by his ego and this deep need for control, so much so that he was running the KGB, not the other way around.
So, looking back on these two incredible betrayals, Cherkashin's memoir gives us some really profound insights, not just into the mechanics of spying, but into the very human reasons that drive it.
Cherkashin doesn't try to glorify what he did. He looks straight at the grim reality that his success meant death for other people. He even says the moral dilemma weighed heavily on him. And while he saw catching spies as his job, he reveals something pretty surprising. He personally believed execution was unnecessary. In his view, you should just fire and disgrace traitors.
And this, right here, brings us to Cherkashin's central lesson. The big takeaway from a 40-year career spent in the shadows. People don't betray their countries for some grand political idea. No, they do it for deeply personal and often painfully ordinary reasons. So, what you should really take away from this is that treason isn't born from some political manifesto. It's born from the most common human frailties you can think of: greed, resentment, a bruised ego, a personal crisis. It's about the boss who passed you over for a promotion, or a debt you just can't find a way out of. It's the stuff of everyday life, just amplified to the level of global espionage. Cherkashin's story really forces us to look beyond the secret files and the dead drops. It makes you ask, what's the true cost? It's just the real prices paid not just in lost secrets, but in human lives, in shattered trust, and in the moral certainty of the very people who choose to play this incredibly dangerous game.